Who do you think is profiting in the most from this crisis? While everyone is finding for unemployment benefits and trying to figure out how to survive this pandemic, even billionaires are scared that they might lose all of their uh, fortunes in a blink of the eye. Eric Yan made $4 billion in the first 3 months of the pandemic. He would probably make much in the few months and possibly years. He wasn't even on the billionaires list just a year ago. He found Zoom and took the company public last year, and today his net worth is over $8 billion. But he is not alone. Thousands of the people in front of the, if not a millionaire, are taking a fortune in the middle of this crisis. Because based on that, we know this recessions will probably turn into the depressions, and if it does, then most of us are doomed. But if you take some good financial decisions, you will not only survive it better than everyone else, but might end up with a little fortune. First, cut your expenses. During any crisis, cash is the king. And crises create one in the lifetime opportunities. You might come across one of them, but if you don't have enough money to invest, you will miss it. Amazon, Google, and many other great companies, for example, emerged during the dot-com bubble. If you have invested into Amazon just $1,000 in the 1997s, your investments would be worth 1,300,000 as 2018. This crisis might be a little different, but it also presents different opportunities. However, you need cash to take advantage of them. If you could keep your job in the middle of this chaos, you have probably been working from home since the country was on the lockdown. As businesses will realize that they can let the employees work from home, that will probably be the new normal, which means you no longer have to overpay to live in the city. Living in a city is expensive, and rent makes up a substantial part of the most people's budgets. If you can keep your job and move somewhere else and cut 20, 30 or 40% of your rental payment, that should be on top of your to-do list. Who knows how long the crisis is going to last? Every penny matters now. How much have you already saved by the cooking at home since you didn't have the many options? A friend of mine told me he had saved a fortune on Starbucks coffees. The lockdown has taught us that we don't have to spend so much money to lead normal life, which means we can invest more and reach that financial independence much sooner than you have imagined. So save as much as you can. Second, keep holding. Over 50% of the Americans invest in the stocks market, which is great, but the stock market has been down for a few months already. It has recovered slightly, but overall it doesn't look good. Most people panic in such situations and have been savings for a year, and now once you invested that cash, you have lost 30 or 40% of your wealth. What do most people do? They cash out before they lose more, and that's why it has been down by so much. People are selling their investments since they are uncertain about the future, about where the stock market is held in the foreseeable future. Everyone is trying to minimize losses. Of course, it would be fantastic if you could cash out right before the crash, but if you did not, which in case of the most people, do not sell and keep holding. Sooner or later, the market will recover, and most of these businesses will gain their market value. If they are great businesses, they will not only recover but grow faster, which is why happens in the last crises and pretty much in every other crisis, especially if you have invested in the index funds such as the S&P 500. Don't be one of those dudes who has invested at the peak in the market and sold at the bottom of it. Of course, it's lousy businesses such as the weak airlines, it might go out of businesses, and getting even half of your investments is better than nothing. So think twice before selling. Third, don't be too confident. During the dot-com bubble, online businesses emerged every single day. Investors were ready to throw money at any businesses that ended with .com. And it was the golden opportunity that no one wanted to miss. But only a handful of those companies were light, such as Amazon, Google, and a few others. What are growing until today? The same thing happening with the cryptocurrencies just a few years ago. Some investors literally threw money at almost of these businesses because even if one of them would succeed, it will overshadow all the bad ones. And if social distancing is going to be the new normal, as it seems, entrepreneurs will try to find every way to profit from it by building apps, softwares, bots, whatever to help us to live, work, and entertain in this new world of the social distances. And many of those businesses will seem like they are going to revolutionize the world, but they won't. They probably won't go bankrupt in a few years later. So you have to be very confident in what businesses you are going to invest. Mark Cuban, founded of the broadcast.com during the dot-com bubble, and Yahoo, who was the leader of the internet at that time, purchased it for the $5.7 billion making Mark Cuban the billionaire. Good for him, but not for Yahoo, since when the bubble burst, broadcast.com went out of the business and devastated the entire company. Next, do not invest in the bank. Even before the pandemic, rates on the fixed deposits were really low, like just a few percent at best. They barely coped with inflation. Even if you are not looking to make a fortune by investing in the fixed deposit, you want your money to grow at least by 2% or 3% to catch the inflations. Otherwise, your saving will keep getting worse every year because inflation will swallow it over time. However, what's the difference now is that during any crisis, when the economy isn't growing for whatever reasons, the central bank usually lowest interest rates to its bare minimum to encourage businesses to borrow and grow their businesses to get the economy back to track. We have the entire video on the how to which link you can find in the descriptions if you want to learn more about how the economy works. And that's happening now. Interest rates are at the 0.25% and the time is writing off the script, which means you will be losing money if you keep your savings if in a fixed deposit. Some banks are paying as low as the 1%, like Wells Fargo, and that is not going to change anytime soon until the economy gets out of this crisis. And that is not just in the United States. In Europe, interest rates are negative 0.5%. So don't consider banks as the investments during the crisis or any time at all. Fifth, and finally, do not invest your last pennies. The stock market isn't all sunshine and rainbows. Your chances of losing your money are higher and you're financially undeducted. Even if you are, and the risk is always there. So take off your pin glasses and assess your risk. Your priority should be putting food on the table, especially if you have a family to feed. For the God's sakes, don't invest your last penny, especially if you have the lots of your job. Imagine this crisis lasting much longer. What are you going to do? At some point, you will need cash to survive, and you will exit your position at a loss. The stock market is more of the emotional game. You have to be patient, strategic, and purely based on the decisions, on the reasons, and the logic rather than the emotional and the feelings. Unfortunately, not everyone is going to make a fortune when there is an opportunity. But what is worse of is losing your savings when you need them the most. And now it's your turn. What do you think? What's your plan to take the best advantage of this crisis?